Welcome to the Think Bigger Mastermind, where Steve Yeager and Justin Stoddart interview the best and brightest minds in business and real estate. Their focus is helping realtors in Portland, Oregon solve the industry's biggest problems, enabling listeners to take their individual businesses to the next level. And don't forget to subscribe to get their most current episodes.
Hey, welcome to the Think Bigger podcast with Steve Yeager and my co-host here, Justin Stoddart. How you doing, Justin?
Good morning. Top of the morning to you.
So last week when we said the Think Bigger podcast, we had a couple people ask, what does that mean? So our goal with the Think Bigger podcast is to bring our audience interviews with people that are thinking bigger and solving problems in their industry that sets them apart from their peers. And we feel like we have someone today that's really going to give some information for you that you're going to see that really sets her apart in her industry. I got to give a quick disclaimer, which we do every single time here, that all opinions that are shared by Justin and I today are ours and ours alone, and not by our company that we work for, Old Republic Title. This is just a project we're working on, and we have a lot of, I think we are both very inquisitive and have a healthy thirst for knowledge, and we want to go out there and really meet with other top producers and find out what they're doing, and so that we can share. We truly believe there's a lot of room in this world for people to get business, and the more that we all know, the better we're going to be. So, Justin, I'm going to turn it over to you to introduce our guest today.
Well said. Well said. I'll just add to that. I think it was mentioned in our last recording, someone had labeled themselves as a personal and professional development nerd. And I would say that's probably really defines Steve and I, as we're just hungry for knowledge, whether it's podcasts or books or interviews. We're just hungry to meet the best and the brightest out there and learn from them. So this is kind of right aligned with our hobbies and passions, and probably another reason, Steve, why our wives wonder if we actually go to work during the day, like actually do things productive, or if we just go learn. I would venture to say we do both, but maybe that's left to their determination. So anyway, I am excited to introduce today's speaker, special guest, Vanessa Rez with Umpqua Bank. Vanessa is a great person. I had a chance to sit down with her, and actually it's funny, the way that she was introduced to me was from one of her clients. And our client said, you know, I've done a lot of construction work. I've done a lot of, now this client is actually a realtor. She said, you know, I've done a lot of work in the past, home renovation, and it seemed like every time I had some sort of financing in the new construction and or in the renovation, it was always monster trucking it. Like, I mean, it was just herky-jerky. It was challenging. It was always cross our fingers. We hope this goes through. And then I got introduced to Vanessa Rez. And oh my goodness, my life changed. It's opened up a whole new category of work for us. And I know that when I put it in her court, like, it's taken care of, it's smooth, she's got tons of experience backed by a great bank. So that was the introduction. I was like, I've got to meet this gal. So we sat down and talked and realized that not only is she pretty astute professionally, but she told me some cool things about her. And I'll just venture. She said 3 days a week she gets up and does CrossFit at like 4:30 in the morning. So for all you hardcore people out there, she's right up your alley too. So she's making it happen both inside and outside of the business world. So Vanessa, would you tell us a little bit, kind of your story, how you got started in lending and kind of built this niche for yourself, this identity that people are raving about?
Sure. Well, it all starts with, so we're going to be talking about renovation and new construction financing because that's my passion. But when I was little, one of my dreams was to work on a job site so that I could wear a hard hat out there on the job site. Well, I've never worked on a job site. However, I do finance projects where folks are out on job sites all the time. So I've always had an affinity for working with builders. I think they're really, really good salt of the earth people. I was a personal shopper at Nordstrom for 8 years, and then in West Los Angeles, don't hold that against me, moved up to Oregon to be with the love of my life and got married. And when I moved here from Los Angeles, I got an interview with a couple of guys who worked at Chase Manhattan who were loan officers, and I started working with them, helping them with their construction pipeline. And I learned that I really enjoyed doing that, and so I ended up going off on my own instead of being an assistant. This was 13 years ago. Instead of being an assistant, I became a loan officer. And since then, just kept doing new construction and renovation financing as a big emphasis of my pipeline. As things have changed with the industry, I have gone from doing mostly new construction to mostly renovation to now both. because we can do both very well right now. So that's my story.
Good story. I like it. I like it. Thank you for that. You mentioned something about Nordstrom's. I would imagine that probably your training, they're known as probably one of the premier customer service training programs in the world. I would imagine that probably had something to do with why your customers rave about you. Would you agree with that?
I would agree with that. And my job at Nordstrom was a personal shopper, so I was able to really spend a lot of time with my clients. And you're right, the way that they let us take control of the situation and do things and just take care of the client and think outside the box.
Vanessa, tell me about that a little bit more. What does it mean to be a personal shopper, especially in Los Angeles, of all places?
Yeah, it's fun. You get to live vicariously through people who have a lot more spending dollars. But I actually specialize in the men's department. So my clients were men who would come in and some of them would set up an appointment to work with a personal shopper. The others would just kind of meander in, as men do when they need to get a new pair of jeans that fit them because the ones that they have are too small and are realizing it. They will pop in and come in, look for a pair of pants, probably buy 5 or 6 pairs because they don't want to come back in for a very long time. And once you start working with their new pants, you go ahead and introduce them to a new pair of shoes, maybe a shirt that goes with the pants, and of course, well, there you go. I love working. I love something right now. I love taking my husband shopping and being his personal shopper.
That's great. I like that.
Hey, Steve, so to maybe kind of kick off the rest of our conversation here, would you maybe describe the biggest challenge that realtors are having right now? And you maybe know this firsthand. And then maybe that'll kind of parlay into our conversation about Vanessa and how she's maybe solving that problem. But you, having been a realtor for a good part of a decade, kind of understand the unique challenges that we're facing here in the Portland market now. And then let's kind of open that up to Vanessa to talk about how she can solve that.
Yeah, I mean, there's no big secret out there. There are no homes for sale. I mean, you look at our inventory right now in Portland, and it is as low as it's been in a couple of decades at least. You know, they started tracking months of inventory, RMLS did, in 1999. December, there was 1.2 months of inventory. What that means is, at the pace that things are selling right now, it would take 1.2 months to get rid of all inventory if no other homes went on the market. We bumped up a little bit for January, but not a lot. Those are the lowest numbers that we've seen since 1999. That's some scary stuff. I personally am feeling it right now as having a home that is sold and now closes on Tuesday. I cannot find a home. I told my wife that we might be part of that new population in Portland on the waterfront. We might be hanging out down there under the bridge. I don't know what we're going to do. We might be living at the Embassy Suites for a while, but we can't find a home. So the challenge that every real estate agent has right now is, and it always is getting listings. Where are they going to find these listings? How are they going to get listings? Right now, more than any other time, if they do have a listing to sell, it's almost instant money for them. Houses are only staying on market for a day or two. We had 101 people through our open house. You know, people are out there hungry. So I would say the biggest problem they need to solve right now is how do they get a piece of that? How do they get the homes that are actually on the market, or how do they create more inventory themselves?
Perfect. Vanessa, talk to us a little bit about maybe how you see your role in helping solve that problem. Obviously, everybody wants a nice new home. The reality is there are fewer of them than probably what people want right now. Using maybe home renovation or some of your other solutions, tell us what maybe realtors should know about the financing component and how maybe people can get a newer feeling home without, even in this tight market.
Sure. Well, what I have found is that if there's a listing that asks for cash only, the next question for that cash only house is why is it being listed cash only? It's very often the house will have something maybe wrong with it. For example, maybe it is heated by a wood burning stove, and unless you can find comps for a home that's heated by a wood burning stove, a lender cannot offer a loan for that house. So there might be a possibility that seller had a situation where there was a sale fail because they have something going on with the house, like that instance with a wood burning stove where loan couldn't be closed, and so now they think they can only use a cash buyer. With renovation financing, you can go ahead and add in heating system. You can do whatever needs to happen in order to make that home financeable. So that's something that I would ask for buyers and realtors who are trying to find homes for the buyers to look for those types of homes that are cash only, and ask that extra question to see maybe why it is cash only, and see if there's an opportunity to do that. Another thing that's come up is that there's families who want to put their home on the market, but the home maybe it's not ready. It has a bad roof. There's something wrong with the house where that family's trying to save up enough money to fix those things so that they can then put the house on the market. However, if you market that house as being financeable with renovation funds, then the buyer can come in and buy that house and finance the renovations that need to be done in order to make that house safe and habitable. So those are a few items that I see there's some realtors who are really open to that, and they're having success. And so I'm not just thinking that that's just a good idea. I'm seeing where that's actually helping people find houses in this market.
So you see some realtors. What do you think, just besides the obvious, because what do you think keeps real estate agents from wanting to go after those houses with their clients? What are the roadblocks that get in their way? Why does it not seem smooth to them?
Well, there's a lot of unknown. For example, the renovation loans that we do the streamline FHA and the full FHA, and we also have a really great conventional renovation loan. However, those loans were not widely used a few years ago. So there's probably people who have tried to use those loans, realtors who have tried to use those loans, and then something bad happened, and so they're just fearful of using those loans. However, now those loans are used more and more. So you're going to be able to find a lender who knows how to maneuver through those loans a lot better than they would have before. So it's more knowledge. So it's a lot easier now. I think that there's a perception that it takes a very, very long time to close these loans, but the reality is that these loans can close. So when we close on the loans, in order to close, we of course have to have an appraisal. And before we can order an appraisal, we need to know what work's going to be done. So we'll have the client work with a contractor to get a contract that lists all the things that are going to happen, and then we hand that contract over to the appraiser, and we ask the appraiser to give us an after improved value. So there's that period of time when a homeowner makes an offer on a house, and then they will maybe take 2 or 3 weeks to figure out what they want to do to the house and get a contract in their hands. That period of time, it could be 3 weeks, it could be 8 weeks. If we can shorten that period of time, then that would make it so that loans can close a little bit faster. Because we can't order the appraisal until we know what renovation work is going to be done. And so something that I would suggest for realtors is to make sure that you have a loan officer who knows renovation financing, and then also have a contractor who knows how to quote the bids quickly and is going to be a really good team member. Because if you have a really good realtor, you have your really good lender, and you have your really good builder, and you all get along really well, and you can all communicate really well, everything happens much faster, and it's a much easier experience for the home buyer and the seller.
Are there any requirements of the contractor, that certain contractors you look at, or there's certain things they need to have in order to have their bids be accepted, as far as what would be possible renovations?
Well, we would, so there's a lot of builders who are already approved with our bank.
Okay.
And so let's just say there's a builder who's not approved with our bank. All we would want to make sure is that that builder was licensed and bonded in the state that they're doing their work in, and that builder, we'll do a background check. We'll make sure that they pay their people on time. We usually pull credit depending on the size of the renovation project. So when we pull credit, we just make sure that they have solid credit scores and don't have any owe any money to anybody, no back taxes, etc., etc. And then, so we'll get them all approved. So it doesn't take very long for them to get approved either. It takes about, once we have all of their forms, so we have them fill out a W-9, we'll get a resume from them, and then we'll get them approved. It takes about 1 day.
Okay.
But, you had mentioned something about writing up a contract, or how to write up an offer when using renovation financing. Is there anything additional, in addition to what you've said, that would be important for realtors to know as they're writing up that offer?
Yes. Well, what I started doing is, so I'll give the realtor a pre-approval letter that says that the home that the purchase price is $300,000. They're buyers approved for a purchase price of $300,000, and then $30,000 in renovation, for example, so that the seller will know that the buyer's already addressed potential renovation needs. And then I also will provide a kind of an addendum to the sales contract that talks about the renovation loan a little bit more. So when the seller or the selling realtor get this pre-approval that has renovation financing, that they can read about it and know that the things that, for example, that the value that we use is based on the after improved value, and just the different terminology, so that somebody who maybe has no idea what a renovation loan is can look at it and get a little more comfort on it, maybe get some keywords out of that, so if they wanted to Google it, they could Google it, and also the lender's phone number if they want to just call me and talk to me about it. But what I would suggest for realtor is to, when you're making the offer, to write the offer stating that it's going to be renovation financing. If you don't know exactly what type of renovation loan you're using yet, just state renovation. We can always add an addendum later where you can be clear on the fact that it's either an FHA or a conventional or a portfolio renovation loan. Ask for a 45-day close. That will depend on the lender that's doing the loan. Some lenders will close these renovation loans at their mortgage company, but then the renovation loan goes to another servicer, and so that and is underwritten by another servicer. So if you work with a lender who isn't encompassing the whole loan at their company, you will need to have, there'll definitely be delays, because naturally things can't go very fast in that situation. But just call the lender and find out how fast they can close. And generally 45 days is good.
Okay.
Also, I would suggest that the realtors have the utilities turned on prior to the appraiser going out, because usually a home that needs renovation will, if it's empty, the power and utilities will be turned off. So have those turned on, because if the appraiser goes out there and they're not on, and if power and utility work isn't involved in the scope of the rehab, then we have to actually send the appraiser back out, and that's usually about a $100 fee that gets added to the appraisal cost to the client.
What would you say, and you've already touched on this a little bit, but maybe I want to go a little bit deeper. Obviously, the big challenge that a lot of realtors are having, even some of the best realtors we work with, are kind of at their wits' end, saying, I've never seen a market like this, in which I'm having to submit so many offers. Working on the buyer side right now is more challenging than ever. In fact, I sat in a room of realtors that were doing some sales training, and they said, I don't know if this market is any less challenging than 2007, 2008, because it's so competitive out there. We're having to work so hard for every dollar. It's just on the opposite end of the spectrum. So obviously the name of the game is listings. If you bring in a listing, as Steve was talking about, and it's priced right, there's a great opportunity. Sure, you still have to review a lot of offers. There's still a lot of work, but you're not, your odds of actually getting paid on all that work is not so, aren't so small. If you could give advice to a realtor on how to go create new listings that most people aren't seeing, is there anything additional that you would add or share that would give a realtor that's listening to this an idea or a spark to say, you know what, I bet I could go list some homes that no one else has thought of and go approach some people? Anything else that you'd expound upon in that regard?
Well, I was thinking about this the other day. If I were a realtor, I would go out, and I bet realtors are already thinking about this. But anyway, I would go out and I would go to the homes that have the manufactured home, land that has manufactured home on it. So you have folks who live in the outskirts of town, and they have these nice lots, and then they have these manufactured homes. Well, there's a lot of manufactured homes where they can't really sell the manufactured home because it's old and it doesn't meet lending requirements anymore because maybe it's been moved before and that's not allowed. But if you can find some land that has this manufactured home on it, you could sell that home, and instead of marketing it as a manufactured home sale, to market it as come in, purchase the land, and build the home of your dreams, or come in, purchase the land, make this manufactured house go away, put a new one on. So that would be really, that would be something that I would like to explore a little bit more. I just did a really nice construction loan for a gentleman who he found the land of his dreams. We found out that the manufactured home had been moved before, so we couldn't do a loan on it. Plus, the manufactured home was very old, so we just couldn't put a loan on it. So he did decide to build right away, and so we were able to finance the build. So that was a sale that we kept going that could have very well ended up not moving forward. So, manufactured homes, not everybody wants to go there, but you can make the, you can remove them. The other piece is that I know that I have people in my life that would like to put their house on the market, but they feel like they need to fix their house up before they put it on the market. Well, right now is such a hot time to sell. I would just market it, and if the house, for example, if it has a bad roof, go ahead and put in your listing that the house needs a new roof, and here's a bid from a contractor for this new roof, and by the way, here's a loan officer who can help you with renovation financing, because most buyers don't know about renovation financing at all. It's pretty regular that when I do talk to somebody about their renovation financing options, that they tell me, Vanessa, I wish I would have had this conversation 8 years ago. I wish I would have known this 5 years ago. I would have done this, I would have done that, and it's just common because it's just not used very often.
Really interesting. Tell me any thoughts on marketing ideas. I know that was a topic we kind of discussed prior. Could be for the realtor or for, essentially both you and us are in a similar boat in that we market to realtors. Realtors are a big source of our business. What have you seen that maybe you could share with those that are going to watch this that would, where you've seen marketing done really well in their business, in getting the advantage over other realtors in a really competitive market? Any thoughts on that?
Well, one realtor that comes to mind is somebody who has a builder that she's very close to, and so she's able to have this package where she's of course the realtor, and then she has this builder, then so she can put together the dreams for the home buyer, because she already has the system, and I see that being really helpful for her. Because I get to hear how her clients feel about that, and they feel like they're totally being taken care of, and they appreciate having somebody who can help them figure out what to do as far as having a team.
That's
and so and she specializes in one area of town, and so that helps with the word of mouth because folks get to talk to each other.
Huh. So as you see, every market brings a new challenge, right? Like Justin said, this doesn't feel that much different to the real estate agents from 2007, 2008, 2009, but it's just on the other end of the spectrum, right? It's just taking a lot to get deals. We hear from some of our bigger clients that have teams that they're scared they're not going to be able to keep some of their dynamic buyer's agents because there's nothing out there right now for them. They're not getting anything accepted. We've had people ask us, I was probably a decent example because we had 24 offers on our home. And so we've had people say, here's what we were looking for in an offer. And it's not always the highest price. It's also what you're looking at in the overall package. As you see this market we're in right now, and we've talked about some opportunities, where do you see in the future? What are you preparing yourself for in the next few years that you think is going to come our way? Is it interest rates kind of slowly ticking up? And if that happens, how do you position yourself, or do you do anything different?
Well, my focus is 75% of my pipeline's new construction and renovation, and regarding rates, I do know that rates are slowly going to tick up, but the rates are really good right now. Even a half point tick up or a 3/4 point tick up is not that bad. So it does change the buying power slightly, but if you sit down and you compare that payment, it's not that different. So that doesn't really scare me very much. I do know that there's a lot of our inventory in Portland is getting old because we have Portland we have a nice old community, and we can come in and we can renovate homes, and so there's a lot of homes that are in the market that can be renovated and will need renovation. So I'm focusing mostly on just letting folks know that I'm here, and just focusing on educating realtors on how to do renovation and new construction financing, because it hasn't been used that much in the last 3 or 4 years. I've been doing it for 12 years, but I've seen a huge boom in my amount of loans and the knowledge that realtors have. A lot of them know about it now, and I imagine that'll just keep increasing.
So we're kind of in the infant stages almost of this. As we have a lack of inventory, there's a need for new construction. There's a need for more homes. There's a need for, I think more and more was what you're saying, even in the next market, these renovations are going to keep happening. We have an older market. Portland's not a brand new city. There's a lot of areas where the turnover on the homes hasn't happened very frequently. So we're going to have a lot more of this, maybe I guess you could say, delayed maintenance on homes. I mean, I know over in the Irvington area, when I used to sell, we'd see a lot of these beautiful, beautiful homes that some people had lived in 40, 50, 60 years, and then they would go on the market, and they just needed to be updated. Some things, the maintenance needed to be, delayed maintenance needed to be, brought up to speed. So I imagine as you look in those areas, especially on the east side of town, there are a lot of opportunities.
Definitely. And I just had a little thought. And we have a contract right now where somebody's buying a house and they're going to renovate it, and it's going to be at a pretty extensive renovation. However, the seller would really like to rent back for about 45 days, and we have no problem with that, because as long as if we're doing it as primary residence, and as long as the home buyer is going to take occupancy within 60 days, there can be that period of rent back. And I'm seeing that a little bit more than I have seen before. And that's probably because folks who want to sell, they don't have a new house to buy right away, like you mentioned, your situation. But I just wanted to mention that because everybody kind of surrounding that wasn't sure if that could happen, but it was absolutely fine as long as it wasn't longer than a 60-day rent back. 59 days.
59 days. That's very interesting.
The thing that you mentioned, Vanessa, that actually reminds me of a conversation I had yesterday with a realtor. We were talking about how service professions in general are becoming commoditized, right? Technology is trying to take the place of some of the functions that are happening in profession-based businesses, and we saw travel agents go that way. Now keep in mind that buying real estate and financing real estate is much more complicated and much more at stake than booking travel or buying insurance online. However, I think that my opinion anyway is that bad realtors that are only facilitating the transaction, will likely be replaced by technology, and the profession has to move to more valuable, or the offering of individual realtors has to add additional value points to stay relevant in in today's world. And one of the conversations that we brought up as we discussed this was not just being a part of facilitating a transaction, but introducing that client to a team of people that can help that consumer take care of other areas of their life as well. And obviously being connected to a lender that can help them with this particular concern of renovating or building new. You even mentioned the realtor that was connected closely to a contractor, to where now the client, because of that realtor, is connected to other professionals that are taking care of more concerns. I don't think it's enough anymore to just be good at our little individual silo, that we have to actually build a network of the best people around us to where we can offer that to our clients when we meet with them. And probably part of the reason why Steve and I are engaged in this project is to go find the best and brightest minds in our industry, or combined industries, and be able to make helpful introductions and provide valuable insight to consumers as they kind of navigate this rapidly changing dynamic real estate market. So I don't know if either of you have any follow-up thoughts on that as we kind of wrap up, but anyway, something I've been thinking about in conversation about.
I think a team is really important. I have a small little team of people who I know will take really good care of my clients. For example, I have an insurance agent that I love sending my clients to, because I know that he'll keep the warm and fuzzy going and make me look good. I have a few ground up construction home builders that I know that I can just turn my client to, and they're going to take really good care of the client. And I would do the same for them. So I think that it's important to have a team and to take the time to figure out who you want to have on your team before you need that person. And also, I have created some email templates, because it's not always convenient to be able to refer someone the correct way. So I have an email template that I've created for my insurance agent, for example. So when I know that the client is open to a referral from my insurance agent, I have a great template that explains who this gentleman is, how to get a hold of him. It has this link to his website so they can do a little research on him before they contact him, and so I'm not having to recreate the wheel every time.
Very good, very smart. I think that cross-edification, if you do it correctly, when you refer that person, they do something similar in return, not just in bringing referrals back, but when they're working with your client, they can really edify you in your absence and really solidify the value of how lucky that client is to be working with you. And it just creates this comfort zone for the client that really sets that whole team apart and just makes the client feel at ease when they're going into new territories that they haven't been before, doing things that they haven't done before. So anyway, great point, great example. Appreciate you sharing that. Steve, any wrap-up thoughts here?
No, I just want to thank Vanessa. Thank you so much for your time today. I think it's really interesting. When I did sell real estate, used to see sometimes in the private remarks like might be eligible for 203K loan, and I remember kind of thinking like, I think I'm going to stay away from this. This sounds complicated. Sounds like a long close. Sounds like 3 months before I'm going to get paid on this thing. But I think providing some clarity that this is not just something this is an opportunity more than anything else. In order to create some more inventory out there, this now provides people an out of, hey, I can't sell my home because it's just not in good enough shape to do so. Well, yeah, you can sell your home, and here's how the way the buyers can go in and we can make this happen. I think it's a win-win for the industry because knowing that's out there, I think it's great, and I appreciate you bringing that, and I enjoyed hearing about being a personal shopper as well. I think that's just a fascinating talk about service-based industry. I'm sure that was a great segue from you to go from that into the lending world because you knew how to take care of people right up front.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. This has been great.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks for joining us, and we'll be in touch. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks.